Well, I think it's interesting. Our former chairman, Mr. Zung, he used to say that globalization actually means localization, right? And so when we think about the way that we execute, it's localization by building out regional teams that are close to customers that work with dealers every day. That's not a big splashy or innovative strategy. It's this execution and being able to reinvest in the company as we grow and expand our teams. But I think then the next question is, what are those teams doing? And so as a manufacturer, a big part of what those teams are doing is working with customers and with our engineering and design teams back in China to give feedback and improve the designs, whether that's the performance of the machine, the configuration, the cabin controls. Those are things that we work on to refine and make sure that they're meeting the expectations of the North American market. So we look at this ConExpo display of 13 brand new machines. I would tell you that this suite of machines is the first suite of machines that's been fully influenced by our North American regional product management team in collaboration with the design teams in China. And as a result, I think you see massive improvements in areas of the machine like daily serviceability, cap, space, designed around North American operator dimensions, if you will. And the overall performance of the machine to go to work in North America and high production environments is just continues to improve. That's not unique to North America. That same process is playing out in Europe. Frankly, our products translate pretty well from China to a lot of the emerging markets, but that continuous improvement cycle is always ongoing. So I'd say that on the product side, those are really good examples of how we talk about that globalization strategy through localization. I would also suggest that, when we look at how we're investing in our infrastructure, Liugong's opening an office in Canada. We have recently opened a research and design facility in Italy. We just opened a new office in Peru. I think actually last year the company established 10 new foreign marketing offices. So these are just steps in the further progress of our goal to be the number one or two player in the emerging markets and to continue to advance our market share position in the mature markets. Maybe finally, our manufacturing footprint. So clearly, the company's manufacturing base has been heavily concentrated in China for the last 65 years. About 10 years ago, we made an investment to build a factory in India for the India market. That factory is being expanded with capacity to export, whether it's to Europe or the United States, which gives us a little bit more counterbalance in these ebbs and flows of the global trade dynamics that we have today. And we've also made an investment. We've broken ground to build a factory in Indonesia that gives us another point of origin. As we do the work to comply with country of origin regulations, we've got more choices for a North American market or a European market that give us a clear continuity in our business, regardless of what the trade environment is going forward. Well, I think you actually wrote the article about a month ago that was an interview with our company president, and I certainly wouldn't want to replace his thinking on the topic, but I would echo it. That whenever you have cost pressures, it makes you refocus your efforts to be lean and be a better competitor. So this time we're calling that cost pressure a tariff. During the COVID period, we called it ocean freight. During other periods in our industry's history, we called it tire surcharges. Whenever those cost pressures come, you've got to look at your whole system and you've got to figure out how to get leaner and better at your job so that you can continue to compete, sustain your presence, whatever the conditions are. And I think that's happening here. And so, I do think that it didn't necessarily change, but it may have accelerated and gave more gravity to some of the manufacturing footprint investments that we're making. Certainly, I can speak regionally. It focused us to get really, really deep on our operations and figure out where we could get margin back through cost savings and logistics, inventory management, other areas of our operation where I won't say we were wasting money, but we weren't as efficient as we could have been to really serve the customer's needs. And if we can squeeze that out, then that saves us having to pass the cost pressure through to the customer. Our mission as a company is and should be to provide the customer with the best value total cost of ownership. And so for us to do our jobs and win the right to do business with a customer, when we have that cost pressure come in one area, we absolutely have to find a way to get it out in other areas. We can't just simply say, well, this happened, Mr. Customer, and now it's your responsibility to deal with it. So in North America, we've got a pretty good focus on where we think we can win and where we think we offer the best value today. We have some thoughts about where that goes over time. So it's interesting. The U.S. and Canadian markets are very similar. North America is North America to us. So I'm also responsible for the business in Mexico and Central America, and certainly different regulatory environment, different market dynamics. But we manage both from our headquarters in Katy, Texas. So I'll speak first about the customer base in North America, because when we talk about Mexico and Central America, it's that and. So we know that more than half of the machines and the product categories that we sell in North America get sold in some form of general earth moving contracting, whether that's road building or commercial site preparation. You have to play. If you don't play, you don't get volume. And so we know we have to be focused on those customers. But which of those customers? We tend to win best with contractors whose business is under 100 million, whose total fleet size is probably under 50 or 60 units, where we can form a relationship with the owner operator of the business and have that relationship directly either with Liugong or with our dealer partners. And we look for that in the construction industry specifically, because that's where we think we have the opportunity to provide a differentiated level of service, fantastic machine value that gives them the opportunity to earn more margins on their projects where they've got to be very, very competitive. And specifically because we think for those kinds of customers, we're actually better positioned than some of the leading brands to provide service. I'm not going to pick on any specific leading brand, but I will tell you that customers in that size class tell us regularly that, they felt like they bought a premium machine because they would get premium service. And when they're deprioritized versus the very large fleet customers, and in a specific example are told they have to wait 2 weeks for a field service call in July when their air conditioner is broken, they question why they paid that premium. Those are customers that we can service very, very well. They're not our 20th best customer. They're our best customer. Yeah. And so we service them very, very well, and we can win on service with those accounts. Our plans beyond the construction business include a real focus on the cement value chain or ready mix value chain. So we look at sand and gravel, cement plants, and batching plants for ready mix, and even asphalt. Why? Because we're the world's leader in wheel loader production, and that industry consumes a ton of wheel loaders, and increasingly electric wheel loaders. And these are the things that we do very well. So we've got a very unique proposition to go and talk with those customers. As a corollary to that, we've become very focused on the waste industry in the last 2 years, and particularly waste transfer stations and recycling centers. Why? Because they operate a lot of wheel loaders. And specifically with respect to electric wheel loaders, transfer stations, or recycling centers that are under roof, they'd really prefer not to have diesel emissions. If they have diesel emissions, they need big evac systems to circulate the air. They prefer not to have noise from an occupational health and safety perspective. And so we not only bring a productivity solution and a total cost solution, we bring a workplace safety solution and a workplace health solution into that environment as well. We do have some other market segments that we do well in on a regional basis. Snow removal is a big opportunity for us in Canada and some of the Northeast United States for our wheel loader product line, and will be for our motor grader product line. We have a certain portion of our dealer network that's been pretty actively engaged in the forestry business for time. And while we don't build forestry specific machines, our loaders and excavators can be fitted with attachments that go to work in those lumber mills or log handling applications with pretty good ease. So I'd say those look like the primary segments for us when we consider our focus and where we want to work with our dealers to direct our energies. And it all starts with knowing very well where our machines go to work and have an advantage, and also which customers fit us and fit our brand at this stage of development, and where we can invest time and know that there's likely to be a really strong return. If we turn our attention to Mexico and Central America, all of that is true, and because we have more access to the full range of Liugong's product line, we're not constrained by emissions regulations. We're actually delivering the first of Liugong's agricultural tractors into the Mexico market for test this year. The plan to launch the agricultural line in 2027. We're, as you may know, Liugong is extending its product range into mining products, and so we're starting now to engage in conversations with small mining customers to introduce the Liugong concepts, whether that's the wide body truck or larger excavators in either diesel or electric format, to start opening the conversation as these machines come online, would be positioned to bring them into Mexico specifically, and engage with those customers to start to grow the business in that small to medium sized mining space. Um, so if we think about that segment focus, then that aligns with what do we need to do with our dealers. And so we do have very specific targeted geographic markets where we lack dealer coverage and we're actively recruiting. And we have a very specific profile of dealers that we think work well for our business and are uniquely positioned to make very, very profitable returns from representing Liugong's product line. And that typically means an existing industrial distribution business that is also not currently selling construction equipment. And so many of us, including Liugong in the early years of market penetration, came in and said, well, who sells something that looks like what I sell? Generally, we found arrangements where the divided loyalties are in place are not the best for us. We found fantastic success in the North American market, in Mexico and Central America, with dealers who depend on the Liugong business just as much as we do to pay the bills. And so that's really our path going forward, is to not break or disrespect any existing relationships, but look more and more where we can build businesses with people that are focused on Liugong exclusively. I should probably also mention that we have a pretty robust material handling lineup, and in North America, we're marketing a full range of LP, diesel fuel, and lithium-ion forklifts from 4,000 pound capacity up to 40,000 pound capacity, including container handling reach stackers. So that's a big change in our product dynamics here over the last 3 years. I think there's a very simple definition that says we're using the available technology to integrate into our machines in ways that lower the customer's costs, right? And so lowering customers' costs could be the development work we're doing on autonomy. That's not necessarily a new concept in the industry. I was at a former employer in 1997 when we put the first autonomous haul truck into service. Technology's come a long way since then. We're active in China. Those machines are working with customers in China, and our development process typically means we get it right in our home market, and then we start to expand outside of China once we're confident that we can produce that technology with good results at scale. That's one example. Our onboard telematics is proprietary, and it goes beyond the typical data point reporting and machine location. Hey, you've got an alert. I'll give you the example this time on the forklift side. That telematics system incorporates functions that are multiple systems required in the industry: shock detection, people detection. If we think about the standard telematics suite, that's all there, but we're putting the safety features into that as well, to get more of a full solution in one integrated Liugong developed tool for our customers. We're not all the way there yet, and certainly there's a lot for us to learn from the market leaders. But I think the last part of intelligence really gets not into the mechanical or maintenance side of fleet management, but the integration of fleets, of fleet planning and fleet coordination on a job site. And so we're making steps into that space where we're working on job site planning tools, which might involve dispatch, which might involve coordinated, targeted excavation. And when we think about those tools and how they can harmonize customers' activity on job site, we can often find opportunities for them to get the same job done with less equipment. But each of these is an example where we can come in and either reduce costs or reduce risk for customers by using technology. And I think, the biggest example is the battery products. And so when we think about the battery products, that really kind of started as hey, maybe this is a trend, and maybe there's some environmentally conscious customers out there that are wanting this kind of technology, and there were, but we've gone way beyond the feel good elements of battery, and these are hardcore economic drivers now. When we put a battery machine to work, and we've measured it, so we're very, very confident that we see up to 70% reduction in operating costs on that machine over its life cycle. That comes from three principal places. One, fuel cost. So we're typically, at least in the United States, we're typically producing energy cost savings on the level of 90%. That is to say, if it took $20 an hour to run the machine on diesel fuel, we're running it on about $2 an hour on electricity. So 90% energy savings. Many fewer filters, fewer oil changes because we're not changing engine oil, we're not changing transmission oil. Yep, we still have axles and we still have hydraulics. We've cut the oil changes in half. And then the big one that sometimes falls out of view is that there's no component rebuild on a battery. There's no component rebuild on an electric transmission. So when we think about the costs that are associated with those component changeouts or rebuilds at 15,000 hours, the total cost savings that's attributable to having a purely electric drive machine is massive. And I think it's frankly going to change the way that people think about their ownership cycles. Many customers today trade out machines after 3 to 5 years because they don't want to be out of warranty or they don't want to deal with these rebuild costs. But what if they weren't there? Would it give you the opportunity to keep a machine for 10 or 12 years if it was remaining productive, if it didn't have that increase in costs? And maybe you thought about it differently, and a refresh is putting a new seat in and cleaning up the cab for your operator. Much lower expense than an engine overhaul or a reman engine change out. We have these machines today, the most mature in the field, are touching 25,000 hours without any significant derate on the battery. And our engineering calculations suggest that these machines can be productive and maintain at least 80% of the battery capacity up to 40,000 hours. That's a game changer. I think every manufacturer has to go through that experience and say, how can I be as easy as an iPhone, right? And so if we look at our new models that are on display here at ConExpo, you'll see that there's a massive amount of controllability given to the operator and the monitor. And the monitor's a very intuitive, simple menu structure to go through and be able to get the performance out of the machine that you want. Similarly, iLink, it's a phone app. And so we're all used to working in that environment now. It'll push information to you if you allow it to on things you need to pay attention to. And if you have a need or a desire to know more about what's going on with that machine, it's a very simple menu structure to work through and get the information that you need to feel confident in the management of the machine. I'll share with you, I was at a conference in probably 2017 when they told us that 50% of the cars on the road by 2025 would be electric, and 25% of those would be autonomous. Yeah. Futurists are futurists, and they dream a big dream, and they stretch us further than we'd go on our own, but they're also generally not very connected to real-world timelines. So what do I think is coming? I don't think it's very likely that we're going to see a new product class emerge that says, oh, here's the new way to move Earth. I don't really think that's where this is going. And specifically for Liugong, what I think is our reality is we're going to get growth not only in North America but around the world by entering new markets. You know, that's key to our strategy to add dealers and cover customers and geographies that we don't service very well today. So putting a new dealer in a new market gives us growth. When we think about our existing dealers and even those dealers that we add, we want to expand the product portfolio. Sell more things through those dealers to those customers that we do business with today. And so what does that look like? Well, the sky's kind of the limit. Right now, Liugong manufactures 22 product lines. We bring less than half of that into the North American market right now. So there's all kinds of opportunity for us to expand and leverage the work that's already done, provided that we set up the distribution partners to focus on working with those customers. And when I think about that growth, you know, our then chairman, Mr. Zhang, made a commitment at ConExpo2023 that within 5 years, we'd have an electric version of every machine that we have in the diesel lineup. And I'm going to tell you, we're pretty close. And I think, you know, we got 2 more years to go, and I believe we will get there. What's really interesting to me is all of the objections that were there 3 years ago and that are a little bit quieter now. Oh, but it takes too long to charge, or oh, what's the work shift? Technology is advancing at a rapid rate, and that technology is solving those problems. You may have seen the same story I did 2 weeks ago where CATL put out an announcement that they've developed a new sodium-based battery that doubles the power range, whether that's miles driven or hours worked, and can be charged to full capacity in 15 minutes. Now, it's not commercially ready yet, but the technology is moving there. It's there. packaging it up and making it commercially ready, that's probably 12 to 18 months of development work. But can you imagine, my understanding as well is that battery is also half the size. Right. And it has significantly less overheating and risk associated with that. So when we think about some of the power density challenges that we have now, the current thing in the industry says above a certain horsepower class, batteries no longer make sense. You've got to switch to hydrogen, or you've got to switch to some kind of a tethered cabling system. Not if the battery technology changes on that scale. Not at all.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, we're going to find that the batteries are so small that we actually have to put counterweight back on these machines because they're not heavy enough to balance the machine anymore. Right. So I think that advancement in technology is going to happen. I think customers are going to see and feel the economic benefits of working with electric products. And I think it's a totally different scenario than the consumer product version. When we look at this as a capital investment, we're looking at it as a return. Things like the energy costs matter, things like the maintenance costs matter, things like the overhaul costs matter. That's a totally different equation from, I don't want to be limited to 300 miles in my Tesla. I want to be able to drive from Houston to Dallas without stopping. I need an internal combustion engine, right? It's a very, very different scenario. And so I think this is going to gain traction. I think as the technology advances, it's going to build more scale. I also think it's going to get cheaper. And so when I look at those in combination, I think that this dynamic is probably not a so long farewell to the diesel products that we know and love. But I do think that there's going to be a pretty healthy balance of diesel and electric in our industry, depending on the application and the customer needs. I'll share with you another tidbit that I found super interesting. I believe it's a Chinese company. In fact, I'm positive it's a Chinese company. I think the name of the company is NEO. Saw a web story about a week before I came down here, and it was celebrating a milestone for this company where they had done 100,000 complete battery changeouts of electric cars in one day. How do they do it? They have these kind of shipping container sized kiosks that drive the car into. It's all digital. They know what your car is. They know what battery goes in it. A robot comes and drops the battery out of your car, pulls a new battery in, puts the battery in your car, and you're gone in 10 minutes. Think about that. That battery swapping technology is happening in China in our industry today. The difference is that they're taking a battery from a charging center, delivering it on a truck. Big heavy forklift takes it one off and puts the other one on, and that process takes about 5 minutes. We need a lot more scale in the North American market in order to merit what kind of investment one of our dealers or a third party service company we need to make to provide that swap out service. But if we look to the future, that part of the future is in China, where 50% of the machines sold in China are battery electric today, and they're building the scale very, very rapidly. And so that sort of technology is also more service, is evolving very rapidly. We just completed about 18 months ago a new excavator factory that's almost completely automated. If you make your way to our Chengzhou Eastern manufacturing base, you'll see very highly automated processes putting machines together. People aren't totally eliminated from the process, but it's very, very highly automated because the team in China tends to look to the future. And they know that while they may have low labor costs now, that won't be true 10 years from now or 15 years from now as the country continues to develop and the quality of life standards continue to develop. And frankly, as the population shrinks, right, that's going to mean less workers that demand more wages. So they're preparing for that through automation. And it's really impressive. I think that the total supply chain coordination right now, partially because the business has been a little bit soft in China for the last couple of years, it's pretty fast. You know, we're generally in manufacturing lead times between 45 and 60 days. And then we generally plan for about 3 weeks on water. So we're typically, if we place an order and everything goes through the process as it should, we're typically about 90 to 100 days out on delivery, which is pretty good. I think there are some takeaways that I would like our customers to have when they visit our booth, if that's fair. First and foremost, I want our customers to feel our full commitment to the North American market. There's been too much noise in the media and in our geopolitical environment. Liugong's commitment is to focus on making our customers successful wherever they are in the world. We're fully committed to the North American market, and our presence with 13 new machines designed for the North American market is meant to be a reflection of that. The second thing that I want people to take away from their experience in our booth is we are the worldwide leader in battery powered technology. It's not a science project. It's not some kind of a future promise. It's proven technology that's in the market today with more than 17,000 pieces of electric construction equipment in more than 60 countries around the world. 25,000 operating hours on the most mature. We're in it. This is core to our identity. And if we expand beyond the construction machines and look at forklifts and aerial work platforms, we have more than 70,000 pieces of battery powered equipment around the world. We know how this works and we lead the world at it. It's going to come in North America. It may come slower than in other markets, but it's going to come and we're going to lead the way. We want customers to talk to us if they have an interest in this space, because we've got it pretty well worked out. We've got more than half of the market in North America for these products is Liugong already. We're going to continue to extend that lead. So I want people to really be thinking about us when they think about battery electric. And lastly, I think Liugong has been famous as a wheel loader manufacturer. You know, we make more wheel loaders than anybody else in the world. And they're like, oh, okay, we make excavators too. And we're a very large excavator manufacturer. But we're not a short line company. We're a full line company, and we intend to be in business to serve earth moving, quarry and aggregates, and materials producers full needs throughout their product range. If there's something that one of our customers needs and we don't currently market in North America today, we likely make it. And if there's serious interest in those customers to work with us, we'll bring the products over, test them, and we'll bring them to market. So we're here committed to North America market, leading battery technology as a full line provider of both battery and diesel machines.